The trees were tall and silver, and they whispered in the cold wind. Jace stood at the edge of the alien forest, blinking against the icy air. He was new to this moon sent here as a mechanic to fix solar towers for the colony. Tipo said not to wander far, especially at night. But Jace was curious. He had grown up on Earth, where forests were green, not silver, and skies were blue, not two-toned purple. Everything here felt strange, cold, quiet, like the land was waiting for something. That night, his small campfire burned low. His tent sat close to the trees, and the stars above blinked like distant eyes. He had just finished his meal when he heard it. A whisper, soft, almost like a song. But it wasn't wind. JSE stood up slowly, grabbing his small flashlight. He moved toward the sound, careful not to step on dry leaves. The whisper stopped. Silence. Again, but something moved between the trees, a shadow that didn't belong. Then he saw her. A girl, or at least, she looked like a girl. Her skin was pale, glowing faintly in the dark. Her long white hair fell over her shoulders like snow, and her eyes, they weren't human. They were large, silver, and full of light. She stood still, a few feet away, watching. Jace didn't speak. He was frozen, not in fear, but in awe. She was beautiful, strange, and wild, like a ghost from another world. Then, finally, she spoke. Her voice was soft, quiet like the wind. "Stay away from me." Jace blinked. "What?" She stepped back slightly. "Don't come near me. You'll regret it." Her voice was calm, but there was something behind it, pain, maybe, or fear. Jace raised his hand slowly. "I don't mean any harm. I'm just here to fix solar grids. I didn't know anyone lived out here." She didn't reply. Her eyes flicked to the camp behind him, then back to him. She was breathing fast, like she was ready to run. He took one small step forward. She growled low in her throat. "Don't." Jace stopped. "What's your name?" The girl looked confused, then turned her head to the side. "Why do you ask?" "Because," he said carefully, "you're not a ghost. You're someone, and I'd like to know who." For a moment, silence. Then she whispered again, this time almost like a secret, "Alira." Jace smiled softly. "I'm Jace." She didn't smile back. "You should leave this place." "Why?" he asked. She hesitated. Then she said, "Because I was made to harm." Before Jace could speak again, she turned and ran into the trees. Her movement was fast, too fast for a normal girl. In seconds, she vanished into the forest, like a shadow melting into the night. Jace stood there, heart pounding. His fingers were cold, but his body felt warm. Something inside him stirred a strange feeling of worry and wonder. He returned to his tent slowly, replaying every second of the meeting in his head. "Stay away from me," she had said. But he didn't want to. That night, he barely slept. The wind howled outside and the fire burned low, but his mind stayed on Ayla Ruth, the silver-eyed girl of the forest. Who was she really? Why was she living alone? And what did she mean by made to harm? The next morning, Jace asked the local colony workers about her. One older man looked nervous when Jace described her. "We don't talk about the Nightborn," he said, voice low. "Experiments. Failed ones. Left behind during the war. Some say they're dangerous." Cursed, Jace frowned. She didn't look dangerous. The man shook his head. "That's how they fool you." But Jace wasn't convinced. He knew fear. When he saw it tanned, Alira wasn't hiding evil. She was hiding pain. That evening, she returned to the forest. He stood near the same place where he first saw her. He didn't go deeper, he just waited. "I brought food," he said aloud, placing a small sealed packet on a rock. "In case you're hungry." No reply. He sat down beside his fire, eyes scanning the tree line, and just as the stars began to rise, He thought he saw her again for a second. Silver eyes. White hair. Hiding behind the tree trunk, watching the forest, was quiet again, but Jace could feel her watching. Each night, since the first meeting, he returned to the same place, near the silver trees, just outside the edge of his camp. And each night, he brought something, a sealed food packet, clean water, a folded blanket. He placed it on the same rock and waited by the fire. She never came close. But he always felt her there. Sometimes it was a whisper of breath behind the trees. Sometimes it was the soft crunch of leaves when no wind blew. Sometimes it was nothing. But he just knew. Alira was there watching. He spoke to her anyway. "You don't have to be afraid," he'd say. "I'm not here to hurt you." "Do you get cold at night? I left a blanket today." Or sometimes, "Hope you're okay." And sometimes he saw her just for a second. A flash of silver eyes. White hair in the moonlight. A shadow behind a tree. Then gone. One night, after a long day of fixing broken solar panels and bruising his hands with tools, Jace sat beside the fire, exhausted. He was about to doze off when a soft sound made him freeze. Footsteps, slow, careful. His eyes opened wide. His breath caught. He didn't turn. He didn't move. He just waited. And then, a voice. "You talk too much." Jace smiled, heart racing. "Is that so?" A pause. Then softly, "I hear every word." He turned his head slightly enough to see her standing 10 feet away. Arms crossed, glowing faintly in the dark. "I leave food." "You never take it," he said gently. "I don't need food," she replied. "That's a lie," he smiled. "Even scary forest girls need to eat." She looked away, he added. "What about the blanket?" She didn't answer, but in her arms tightly. Wrapped was the very same blanket he left 3 days ago. Jace grinned. "Thought so." She frowned. "Why are you still here?" "This is my job. I fix things." "You could have asked to be moved?" He nodded. "I could have." Silence stretched between them. Then she whispered, "I told you. I was made to hurt. You should stay away." He looked at her closely now. Her posture wasn't angry. It was tired, guarded, like a creature that had been kicked too many times. Jace spoke slowly. "Maybe that's what they told you, but you didn't hurt me. You saved me from that beast." Alira's expression changed. Her eyes softened, but only for a second. "I shouldn't have," she said. "That was a mistake." He shook his head. "Saving someone isn't a mistake." "You don't understand what I am," she said, voice suddenly sharp. Jace stood now, not moving toward her, just meeting her eyes. "Then help me understand." The wind blew softly through the silver. Leaves above. Alira's hair fluttered around her glowing face. She looked up at the stars. Then back at him. "They made us in a lab," she said at last. "Born. Made." Jace listened carefully, not saying a word. "I was one of the last," she continued. "They wanted soldiers who didn't feel fear, or pain, or love. Just tools to win wars." Her voice cracked, just a little. "But it didn't work," she whispered. "Some of us broke. Some felt too much. We became unstable. Useless to them." She clenched her fists. "They threw us away." Jace swallowed hard. "You weren't broken. You were human." "I'm not human," she snapped. "No," he agreed. "But you feel, you think, you care. That makes you more than what they say." She looked at him again and, for the first time, Jace saw something in her silver eyes he hadn't seen before. Hope, a fragile, flickering thing. Like a candle in the dark. "I have to go," she said suddenly. "Wait, don't follow me." She turned and vanished again into the trees. But Jace didn't feel afraid. Not anymore. He felt a connection. The next morning, the food he left was gone. The blanket was neatly folded and placed back on the rock, and on top of it a single white flower. A kind that didn't grow near the colony. Alira had walked far just to leave it. It was a message. She was listening. That night, Jace built a second fire one for him, one for her. And then he waited again. This time, smiling, because the girl with silver eyes was no longer just a shadow. She was becoming something more. Dark clouds moved above the silver forest. The air felt heavy, like something was coming. Jace stood near his campfire, staring at the sky. On this moon, weather didn't change often. But tonight, even the trees seemed nervous. He looked at the second fire he had made still burning. Still waiting, no sign of her. Alira. She hadn't come the last 2 nights. Not a whisper, not a shadow. The flower she left was still pressed. Inside his journal, he had memorized the way she looked, the way her silver eyes flicked between caution and curiosity. Now, something felt wrong. The wind started to scream. Lights flashed above the trees blue, then red, then nothing. Jace checked the warning system on his comm. Ionic storm. Severe. Take cover immediately. He frowned. His small tent wasn't strong enough to survive a full ion storm. The colony was too far away. He grabbed tools, extra heat packs, and wrapped them in cloth. Then he looked at the forest. I'm not leaving her out there, he muttered. Rain started falling, cold and sharp. Like ice needles, Jace moved fast, pushing past glowing leaves and twisted roots. His boots slipped in mud, his jacket caught on low branches, but he didn't stop. Alira, he shouted. Where are you? Lightning flashed white and blinding. Then a sound came from deeper in the forest. Not her voice. Roar. Deep. Animal hungry. Jec ran toward it. He found her there back pressed to a tree, arms bloody, face scratched. In front of her was something, huge, an alien beast with 6 legs, black fur, and yellow teeth. Its skin sparked in the stormlight, showing sharp bones under its hide. Alira was shaking, but her eyes were wild. Fierce, Jace didn't think. He grabbed a stick from the ground and ran at the beast. Shouting, trying to distract it. The beast turned. To him, hissed, and charged. Too fast, too strong, Jace barely got his arm up before it hit him. Claws ripped into his jacket. Pain exploded in his side. He fell hard, rolling over wet leaves and rocks. The creature jumped again, but it never reached him. Because Alira moved. She screamed a sound so loud and sharp it pierced the storm. Her body lit up, bright silver, like energy pouring out of her skin. She leaped forward, claws out, and crashed into the beast midair. They rolled together in the mud, biting, scratching, roaring. Jace could only watch through blurry eyes as she tore into the monster with terrible power. And when it was over, the beast lay still. Alira stood over it, covered in blood, chest rising and falling fast. Then she turned and saw Jace. Her expression broke. She ran to him, dropped to her knees, and touched his face with shaking fingers. You're bleeding, she said, voice full of fear. You too, he whispered. Why did you come out here? She asked. He smiled weakly. Because you didn't come back. Her hands trembled. I told you I was dangerous. That I hurt people. You didn't hurt me, he said. You saved me again. Tears mixed with the rain on her cheeks. I couldn't let you die. The storm still howled above, but Jace barely heard it. His side was burning and the world was spinning, but he stayed awake. She wrapped his arm with strips from her own cloak, pressing hard to stop the blood. You shouldn't have come, she whispered. I had to, he replied. I promised I wouldn't leave you. She stared at him for a long time. Then she said, softer than before, "You're warm, even when the sky screams." Elira helped him back to camp, half dragging him, half dragging him. She didn't leave his side. She lit both fires, wrapped him in the blanket, and sat close to keep him from passing out. He looked at her through half-closed eyes. "Stay," he said. "Please." She didn't answer with words. She just nodded. That night, the storm above broke trees, tore tents, and flooded the edge of the colony, but in a small circle of firelight. A human boy and a silver-eyed girl stayed warm together. She didn't vanish into the trees this time. She stayed beside him, and for the first time, Elira wasn't afraid of herself. The storm was gone. Only broken branches, deep puddles, and silence remained. Jace opened his eyes slowly. Pain pulsed through his side. His arm was wrapped in dark cloth, and the air smelled of ash and wet leaves. He was lying under a thick blanket beside a fire that still flickered. Weakly, he turned his head. She was there, Elira, sitting a few feet away. Knees pulled to her chest, eyes staring into the flames. Her hair was still damp. Her silver eyes were dim, like the last light of a dying star. Jace whispered, "You stayed." She didn't look at him. "You almost died." "You saved me again," he said softly. "I had to." "Why?" Now she turned her head slowly. Her voice was barely a breath. "Because you were the first who didn't run." Hours passed. Jace couldn't move much. Every time he tried to sit up, pain hit him like a hammer. But Elira brought water too. His lips. She crushed dry herbs between her palms and pressed them into his wounds. She knew the forest, its medicine, its secrets. She didn't speak much, but her hands were careful. Her touch was gentle. And when the sun set again, she was still there. Night fell. The two fires burned low. Elira stood and looked at the trees like she was thinking about leaving. Jace saw her shadows stretching across the ground. "I'll be fine," he said. "If you want to go." She didn't reply. She took one step back, then stopped. Another step, then stopped again. Her hands trembled, and then she turned around. She came back to the fire and sat beside him, closer this time, almost touching. "I don't know how to be near someone," she whispered. "You're doing fine," Jace replied, trying to smile. "I'm not like you," she said, voice flat. "My blood is different. My mind is wrong. They said I would always be wrong." Jace looked at her. The firelight danced on her face. "You were kind," he said. "You wrapped my arm. You stayed. That doesn't sound wrong to me." She closed her eyes. Then, slowly, she lay down beside him, carefully, like a wild animal trying not to scare itself. Her body curled toward the fire, but not away from him. Her voice was small. "I've never slept beside anyone before." He nodded. Slowly, "I'll stay awake if you want." "No," she whispered. "I want to try." The forest was quiet again. The stars above peeked through the torn clouds. Elira's breath slowed. Her body relaxed. And for the first time, she let the silence hold her. Jace watched her fall asleep. She looked peaceful now. Not like a weapon. Not like a creature made for war. Just a girl. A lonely, tired girl who didn't want to be alone anymore. In the middle of the night, she stirred. Jace was still awake. She shifted closer and mumbled something in her sleep. A single word. Warm. Then she curled tighter, one hand resting lightly on his uninjured arm. Jace closed his eyes and smiled. Morning came. Slowly. When Elira woke, her eyes opened wide. She pulled back fast, as if ashamed, like she had broken a rule. But Jace reached out, just a little, and whispered, "It's okay." She didn't run. She didn't vanish into the trees. Instead, she sat quietly and said, "I used to dream of this, but I thought it wasn't real." That warmth wasn't real. He looked at her. "It is. You just forgot." She stared into the fire, then whispered, "I think I want to remember." That day, Jace couldn't do repairs. He needed rest. And she made sure he got it. She brought him forest fruit, cleaned his wounds again, watched the sky for more storms, and when night came, she didn't wait in the trees. She came to him without fear. That night, she didn't sit across the fire. She sat beside him, close, her shoulder brushing his. And when he asked, "Can I tell you a story from Earth?" she nodded. He talked for hours about trees that turned orange in autumn, about laughter, about music. She listened quietly, her head tilted. And when she finally spoke, she said, "I want to see those trees someday." Jace smiled. "We'll find them," he said. "Together." The moonlight was soft that night, falling gently on the trees like a silver blanket. Jace sat near the fire, wrapped in a blanket, his injured arm resting on a pile of folded cloth. The pain was less now. He could move again. But he didn't want to leave this place, not yet. Illyra sat beside him, closer than ever before. She wasn't watching the forest tonight. She was watching him. For the past few nights, she had returned without fear. No more hiding in the trees. No more running. She listened to his stories, asked quiet questions, and even smiled just a little when he told her about Earth's oceans. But tonight felt different. Something was changing. Jace looked at her. Her silver hair moved with the breeze, and her eyes reflected the firelight like stars in water. "Are you cold?" he asked. She shook her head. "Not tonight." He handed her a fruit from the pack she brought earlier. "This one's sweet. Try it." She bit it carefully, slowly, like she wasn't sure if it was safe. Her eyes widened slightly. "Sweet," she whispered. Jace laughed softly. "Told you." She looked at him, her expression serious. "I've never tasted anything like this. You've never had fruit. I've had food. But it was always given like fuel. Cold, measured, controlled." Jace frowned. "They never gave you anything warm." She shook her head. "Or anything just because it tasted good." "No." He leaned back on his arm, watching the sky. "That's not how life should be." Illyra was quiet for a moment. Then, in a very soft voice, she said, "Sometimes I wonder if I was even meant to live." Jace turned his head sharply toward her. "Don't say that." "But it's true," she said calmly. "I was made as a tool. When I didn't work right, they called me broken, threw me away. I wasn't meant to survive." "You survived anyway," Jace said. "You're still here." She looked into the fire, and then very slowly she leaned her head on his shoulder. It was such a small movement. So simple. But for her, it was everything. Jace didn't move. He didn't want to scare her. His heart beat faster, but he stayed. Still, her voice was quieter than a whisper. "You feel warm. You said that in your sleep." He replied gently, "I did." "Yeah." That night during the storm, he curled up beside me and whispered it. She closed her eyes. I remember dreaming it. I didn't know it was real. It was. The fire cracked softly. The forest was calm. Somewhere far away, a bird with a glowing beak sang a quiet song. And then she moved closer. She curled up beside him, just like she had before. But this time, she wasn't shaking. She wasn't scared. Her hand brushed against his side. Her head rested under his chin, and Jace, feeling her soft breath on his chest, whispered, "You're safe here, Illyra." They stayed like that for a long time. She didn't talk. She didn't need to, because her silence was different. Now it wasn't the silence of fear. It was peace. Later she spoke. I don't know what this is, she said. This feeling, makes my chest feel full. My hands feel light. My head quiet. Jace smiled. That's called trust. She pulled back a little, looking into his eyes. It feels good. It is. But I don't want it to go away. It doesn't have to. She frowned slightly. But things that feel good usually get taken from me. Jace's voice became firm. Not this time. Not from me. She nodded slowly. Then, for the first time ever, she reached out and took his hand. Her fingers were cold at first, but they warmed quickly in his palm. I used to dream of someone holding my hand, she said. But I thought it was just a broken part of me, wanting things I wasn't supposed to want. There's nothing broken about wanting to be held, Jace whispered. She curled tighter beside him. Her hair spread across his shoulder like soft snow. Her breath slowed. Her hand didn't let go.